and specifically the opportunity we have as an industrial group to improve the environmental footprint of the chemical industry. But I think the real excitement is that actually it's not only about the environmental footprint. I think we've seen over time that these materials, these bio-based chemicals, are actually also performing effectively in many applications. So it's not just about performance, cost effectiveness, but also the environmental footprint, all those three things coming together over time. And this excitement is really reflected in all the activity we've seen in the industry over the past year, most lately DuPont's acquisition of Danisco, Dow and OPX, our deal, BioAmber's deal with Mitsubishi Chemical, and the successful IPOs of Amyris, Gevo, Codexis, and all the IPOs that we believe are going to come going forward. So to close, I'd like to extend a great thanks to Bio, who as every year have done a fantastic job of organizing this event. And thank you for the opportunity that this event represents to bring people together, to network, to share. And I'd like to welcome Glenn Murray, the Ontario Minister of Research and Innovation, to say a few words before the bar opens. Thank you.
Bienvenue tout le monde, bienvenue à Toronto, bienvenue au Canada. Nous sommes un pays bilingue, français-anglais, mais dans mon quartier, au centre-ville de Toronto, il y a plus de 162 langues qui parlent dans les rues de notre ville. Je pense que c'est unique. Si tu parles français, chinois, ça fait rien. Vous avez un ami dans ce centre qui est capable de parler sa langue. Welcome to Toronto. We're an officially bilingual country, but that's a little misleading. You're in my constituency. I'm not just the Minister of Research and Innovation. I'm maybe in some ways more importantly the Member of Provincial Parliament for Toronto Centre. There are 162 different languages being spoken in my constituency alone. So wherever you're from, whether you're from Kerala, or whether you're from Punjab, or whether you're from Shanghai, or Santiago, or Washington State, you can probably find someone that speaks your language and probably find someone who speaks English or French with your particular dialect as well. So I hope you'll go out, make new friends, and I hope you'll feel not just like a visitor, but because there's so many Canadians who live here who probably come from your country, I hope you'll feel that you're one of us for the period of time you're here. We're in extraordinarily rapidly changing times. It took 2 millennia for human civilization to complete an agricultural revolution, giving us a strong agri-economy. It also took just 200 years for us to go through the industrialized revolution that left us in the middle of the last century as a very production-oriented economy. It took only 2 decades for the information technology revolution, and now the bio-revolution and genomics revolution is happening in months, if not years. The change in how wealth is generated in our society is truly extraordinary. Within a lifetime now, the economy changes more dramatically than it used to change over centuries. When I was born in 1957 in Montreal, 2/3 of Canadians made things for a living. Most of our wealth was generated by production. Today, we have just come through an extraordinarily difficult recession, but we have emerged from it with an accelerated change in our economy. 80% of the jobs being created in Canada right now, and I dare say that's probably true for most of you who've come from different countries, are not jobs where people make anything. Our fundamentals of our economy has changed. Where production for most of our lifetime was the major source of wealth generation, innovation has replaced it as the major source of wealth generation. 80% of the new jobs being created in this province right now are jobs where people make absolutely nothing at all. They invent, they design, they engineer, they finance, they discover, they manage, they re-engineer, they do just about anything but make things. And for our production economy, which has proved to be quite resilient, it is wholly dependent on our innovation economy. It is our levels of productivity, our ability to create better design and better business and product design that is allowing us to compete globally. Right now, from Linamar to Magna, our large auto sector producers, are succeeding rather dramatically because of their level of innovation, their ability to adapt new process and new technology. But you here today are part of a very different economy in another way. Canada has recovered from the recession quite well. For Ontario, that is always harder than it is for other provinces because we are one of the largest manufacturing sectors in North America. Our auto sector is recovered its 8,000 lost jobs. Chrysler and GM paid off their loans to the Ontario government 5 years ahead of schedule. But it is not the same auto sector. Professor Wilkinson at McMaster University in Hamilton has led a revolution in this province in advanced composite materials and biomaterials. The cars rolling off the assembly lines here from Toyota, from General Motors, Chrysler, Ford, Honda, and many others are now made out of lighter materials and stronger materials than ever before, and your industries and the biomaterials sector and the advanced composite materials sector is very, very much responsible for that. As a matter of fact, at $7.6 billion a year, the biosector in Ontario is now larger than the aerospace sector and larger, in fact, than our auto sector. As a matter of fact, biomaterials, biosciences, biofuels have now become a central aspect of almost every important part of our economy. We have had a recovery here in Ontario for the first time in our history without a recovery in the United States. As you may know, in the United States, job recovery is only around 14% since the depth of the recession. This month, we passed 114% and are substantially in Ontario, one of the few jurisdictions in the Americas that has fully recovered in its net job growth. Our GDP growth in Ontario last year was 3.8%. That was twice the projections of what the banks projected, and the highest GDP growth in this region of the world in about 30 years. This is in less than 18 months after the worst recession in human history. But those 55,000 jobs that were created last month were very different jobs because, well, our economy here in Ontario probably is not that much different than the economies that you're aware of. 1/3 of our economy is services. In employment, 1/3 of our economy is production, and 1/3 of our economy is where innovation is the primary source of wealth generation. But within our economy, 4.5%, less than 5% of our corporations, most of them less than 10 years old, are producing 50% of the jobs in the Ontario recovery. That's 5% of companies, less than 5% of companies, creating 50% of the jobs. And those are largely in the clean tech, clean energy sector, which Ontario now has the third largest cluster of those industries in the world. So your presence here is very important. I hope there's some lessons here that you will take away and find useful and dynamic. We're very excited because all of our companies are shared. My little BlackBerry, which has a considerable amount of biomaterials and compressed materials in it, is now made in 17 different countries. Our ability to maintain open and free trade is critically important. Our ability to share wealth in this world and share technology and move to a more open source and collaborative economy is very important. And I know you bring that enthusiasm, that knowledge, and that entrepreneurial expertise. On behalf of my dear friend, Sandra Pupatello, the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, who's kindly helping host us, and it's a competition to who's funnier and smarter between her and Carol Mitchell, who's the Minister of Agri-Food and Rural Affairs. I unfortunately didn't get them tonight. I'm the stand-in, but they would have told you some very, very, very funny jokes and made you laugh. But they are paying a lot of the bills for us, so we want to thank those two rather dynamic women. And as my friend Sandra always says to me when I first got elected, just remember, Glenn, politicians are people who see the light at the end of the tunnel and order more tunnel. And since you're here to do the exact opposite, we wish you very short tunnels and lots of light. God bless and keep you safe, and please enjoy your visit here. You're very welcome, and we'd love to share our city with you.